marketing arena. So first, let's just make it clear that you are all staying in and staying safe. And if you have any questions during our chat today, you can just leave them in the comments and we'll get them answered. So Reshma, thank you for joining us and welcome back. We had really good fun talking about the myths in writing, myths about writing and writer's life. So I thought we'll talk about the myths in book marketing today.
Yeah, there are many myths.
So yeah. So first of all, how have you been?
Good. I think it's been different. It's been strange. But honestly, I think that, to be honest, I'm constantly catching myself before I complain, because I know that a lot of people have it a lot worse. So I think the this is one time when I keep telling people it's not relative at this point. We do have it a lot better. So just shut up and stay in. And so that's what I tell people, and myself. When
And
I find myself a little bit, I'm actually. I think for most of us writers, and I'm not sure if we're not. It's not. This world is not very different from what we are. We are generally. Am fairly self isolated anyway. I'm quite reclusive. Um, from that perspective, staying home is not a big challenge for me. um, it's a big challenge for a lot of other people, and I think we are worried. I think people who perhaps don't like to be with their own thoughts have issues. I think it's hard for them, and I hope they're able to keep their spirits up. But again, as I said, this time it's not relative. There are people who have it a lot worse, and if your only issue is that you're home, then that's not a big issue to have at all right now. 'Cause if you have a home and you have food, I think you're okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So I keep yelling at people.
Yeah, I'm not missing much. It doesn't feel like I'm missing much. Yeah, the workload has increased in the sense because I don't have a maid now,
Yeah.
but
So I think there is no
that's the
at all at home.
yeah, that's the biggest hurdle I have, that I have to do everything on my own. That's it, and
And I think
that can be done.
it is exhausting. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, so I have no help either. There is no part-time help. There's just my husband, me, and my daughter. But in many ways, it's made her independent. And as I said, we're still incredibly blessed. So when I catch myself being, yeah, and of course everybody feels that way. I just give
Yeah,
myself a tight slap and say, get on with it. And the good thing is that I have stopped working, so the work is still going on. It's just a lot more work, and I'm back to playing the guitar a little bit, and I getting the house sorted out and stuff like that. Using this time a little bit, but trying to find silver linings. There are many in that sense. So, but yeah, I feel bad. I feel sad. So I think it's quite horrible for a lot of people out there. And more, I think the economy and all of that stuff is going to be really hard. It's going to be a hard year for a lot of people. So hopefully we can make it better by our work and make people take them out a little bit. We're going to actually, I don't know if Aruna has mentioned, but we're going to take hidden children, get hidden children translated into Tamil and get it out to a lot
yeah,
more readers. Because I think that's sorely missing we're not looking at that space at all. So I think small aims are to make people happy through what we write, and Aruna knows what she's doing there. So yeah, that's the plan.
yeah. So like, as long as it's not affecting our work, and as long as we can keep working, I think we can keep making a lot of people happy
Yes, I think
and sane. Keep them sane with our books.
keep them sane with our books. That's the plan.
Yeah. So, for those who are aspiring to become authors or are new authors, let's give them something to think on by busting those myths about book marketing today.
I think the first big myth about book marketing is that, and I think Amish Tripathi said it really well, is that the publisher is, just because you have a big publisher doesn't mean your book is going to get marketed. Here's the thing: publishers have their marquee authors, and they will pump a lot of money into the marquee author. The publishing business, I think, is something I have learned with the help of Authors Channel, who have helped me greatly in understanding the business. So we have to break it down a little bit. There are some, there is a channel, right? So you write the book, you market the book, you have to distribute the book first. So a lot of the time what happens, it doesn't matter how much how much you scream about it on your Instagram. If the book is actually not available across stores, if the book is not available on Amazon at the right time, if the book is not being handled and distributed well, nobody's going to read it. So your marketing doesn't work, which is why, of course, you go to someone like Author Channel. I know I'm plugging Author Channel here, but they're the ones that made The Hidden Children, uh, put the book out there on the shelves, so that when anybody went to any bookstore, The Hidden Children was there. That's number one. That is something your publisher has to do for you. Now, the problem when you are a debut author is that you don't get as big a print run. And so physically, there aren't that many copies to be distributed. And nobody's working hard on getting those copies out to the bookstores. So, which is why, for me, when I moved, when I um, uh, when I gave this to Authors Channel, was that they got it out there. They got the books into the bookstores. So that their first bit of marketing is actually the distribution of the book. So second, the myth is that just because you have a big publisher that it's going to happen. No. Yes, the big guys are going to help. William Dalrymple, Devdutt Patnaik, um, Preeti Shenoy. They're going to go after all of them and they're going to help them. They're not going to help you simply because you're new. If the book takes off, it takes off. If it doesn't take off, and if it takes off and you have another four, and the next book will be bigger, and the next book after that will be bigger until you get to that. So don't depend on your publisher to do it. It's not fair on the publisher as well, because the publishing business is very hard. They make very little money as well. What I have learned from actually being part of the publishing process for The Hidden Children is that it's an exceedingly hard business. In so many ways, they're doing you a favor just by being in business. So it's nobody's at blame, but they don't do it. So that's the big myth. So what do you get out of being with a big publisher as a debut novelist? You have the pride that you got through the gatekeeper. So I had that with Fade into Red. But that, and you have, yes, you have a few contacts, but they are not going to take it out there. So don't depend on them. What does that mean? What does that mean? That means you have to depend on yourself, which means you have to spend money by yourself, which means you have to be careful where the money goes. So the second big myth I want to kill is the launch. Guys, unless 10,000 people are coming to your launch, there is absolutely no value in getting a big celebrity and paying that big celebrity and a compere, giving food, paying for the venue just to launch your book. There is no value in it. Unless your big celebrity is able to draw lots of people and lots of press, all of which costs money. Instead, what you should do is go to somebody like, and I don't mean this just because I'm with them or this channel, anybody else, and say, how can I use this money effectively? And you can use the money effectively in many different ways. And I think Dave and I can spend another thing talking about what are the different ways in which you can use the money. But I think best if you're an author, please go contact Authors Channel, and they will tell you the different ways in which you can use your money. One is book marketing, one is the PR. The other is understanding how the books get seen at stores. Please know that in this business, there is a system of who gets shelf space in a bookstore and who doesn't. So find out about that process. How does that work? What kind of money is being spent on Amazon ads? what kind of money do you want to spend on Google ads if you want to do that. I didn't, but if you want to do that, you can do that as well. What kind, or what kind, how much, what do you want to do with yourself, Dev Datta? What do you want to do a cover reveal with Dev? Do you want to do you want to go do a review program with Dev? Nobody tells authors anything. Like there is no system in place to tell authors anything. And so I honestly think that Authors Channel and I should, and Dave, maybe you should get together, write a book on how to market actually what happens in this book business, how books get actually marketed, and what goes on behind the scenes. But then nobody will talk to us ever again. And I think,
Yeah.
but that does so. Here's one book. Here's something that is not a myth, and I think this is something Aruna mentioned to me. She goes, the book has to be good. Without the book being good, guys, no amount of money is going to make it work. Sadly, obviously, some books are very bad, and I don't want to name any authors, but yes, if you are a certain celebrity and you write a terrible book, it might work. But there are, by the way, celebrity terrible books that have been written and they haven't worked at all, because in the end, the readers will eventually get their voice in. But I think the main key for you as a new author is to actually be able to get the book to the reader. Because if it's a good book, and it manages to get read, it will create its own ecosystem.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that there's fan fiction on The Hidden Children now because the sequel is not out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So there will be the book will get read eventually. There are a lot of number 4 myth. How does it work on Amazon, guys? It works on Amazon through a lot of money. Through a lot of money. How do you get up the ratings? How do you? But the good thing about Amazon is that you can't just pay 1,000 people and get the review on. So that's the great thing about Amazon, unlike some other platforms, right? So the myth about Amazon is if somebody has 100 reviews, for more often than not, those 100 reviews are people who've actually read those books. They have been read. Those reviews, for most part, are real. Now, how do you get those reviews again? Is who's going to run after the reviews? Is it going to be a publisher? Is it going to be you? All of that stuff is something you have to understand. But please note, the publisher is not running around marketing your book. You need to be able to go out to the. You need to be able to find your way into whoever wants to, uh, promote your book, like a mall. If it's to do with if it's to do with beauty, go to a brand. If it's to do with education, go to an institution. That kind of stuff. You need to find innovative ways in which to market your book, because the market is very crowded. And so there has to be some sort of innovation. There has to be a budget from your end, and it's not going to magically happen. Number
And
3,
there's something I wanted to ask you. Like, there's one that says that you do not talk about your book unless it gets published.
meaning what? How does that, in terms of, what is that? In terms of
You do not do any marketing or you do not talk about it on social media until and unless your book gets published.
published or is going to be published?
Gets published.
No, I think you can talk. I mean, I talk about the sequel, The Lost Prisoners, not published yet, and I'm talking about the book. What
No, that is the thing. No, how do you get people to go and buy your book on the first week or the first month unless and until you have already been talking about it and people know about it, know that it's releasing.
No, no,
So
no,
you
no, 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 no. Absolutely, you have to. If your book, no. There's two things, Dave. There's one is, if you know your book is going to be published on November 16th, and you can share things about the book, absolutely start to 3 months earlier, so that you can get those books out. The good thing is, one thing I have learned is that, if you're with a traditional publisher, there are there are both advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages are that their cycles are a lot limited. They have contracts with distributors and then the bookstores. That might mean that in the first 2 months, if your book doesn't sell, it's not going to be on the shelf any longer. Yeah. So that absolutely, if you know your book is going to get published, please ensure that you talk about it. You have to talk about it so people know it's coming out. They're waiting for it. Give sneak previews. Get your trailer done. Personally, I think I'm always rushing it. My trailer's always out too late. I'm always talking about my book too late. If anything, I don't talk about the book enough, and it has to be talked about enough, right? The problem is that authors themselves are reticent people. We don't like marketing our books. One, we think the book should be read anyway. Why should I market it? It's just inherent in our system. We don't want to talk about the book. It's very awkward talking about the book. Even though I like talking, I mean, I don't mind talking, but I just don't like putting myself out there. There's a reason I'm a writer. I'm not great at talking, right? So what happens then is it makes us uncomfortable, so that we don't, and two, we don't want to go out there and I don't know, we're maybe scared. So many things. We're scared of the reviews that are going to come in. But yes, but authors are changing. If you are the type of author that has everything in control, can get a trailer out a month before, can do not events, obviously, but can do a host of interesting stuff to build up the buzz, then yeah, why not? But it has to be launched. Like there needs to be a date. So when you go on Amazon, it needs to show that this book is going to come out and going to be sent on this date. You can't talk about a book when you don't know if it's being published or not. That is different. That you can't do at all, because for one reason, it's going to come out, and all that, nobody is going to listen to you then if the book doesn't come out. Quite simply, I'm not even I haven't even set a date for The Lost Prisoner yet. I know it's going to be July, August, September, one of those things. But I have to read. I have to ensure that it's in the right position. I have to make sure my illustrations are in. I have to make sure my the book cover was so good last time. I have so much pressure on getting a book cover as good. I think for authors, especially when they're doing fantasy and trilogies, the pressure is so much higher when the first book does well. So all of that stuff means that you have to be careful about the kind of information you put out. But I also have to be careful that I don't upset people who are waiting for the second book to come out. You don't want to upset. Like already, I think people are sending me messages. So yes, absolutely, I have to talk about the book, and I have to market it. But so I don't know. I don't think that's valid at all. But you have to have a book to talk about. That's the difference. You can't just be random about it. That's the only thing.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have seen some of the fan fictions.
Yeah.
Have you actually read all of them?
No, I haven't read any of them. I'm a bit worried that they might be better than what I'm writing. So staying away. No, I wanted to actually. I know, Dave, you wanted to. You didn't want to discuss this today, and I think this will be a larger discussion. But I think this is a good precursor to that larger discussion, which is LitFest, which we'll talk about next time. Is that we're going to talk about in detail next time. LitFests are important to some extent in your book marketing. We'll talk about why, how you get in, and all of that next time. But that is a person. That is not a myth. However, it is a myth that if you don't get invited, you're not all that great. The LitFest is a cliquey. It's a small clique. It doesn't mean it's not important. It's very important for authors because it's our one time we get out of we get to know people who are doing the same thing. Otherwise, our jobs are lonely. It's a lonely job. And for especially full-time writers like me, it's a lonely job, right? We are full-time writers, content editors, and teachers. So I don't have the kind of, and most of us who are now becoming career writers, we don't have that interaction. So while the launch will not help your book, the LitFests do help your book. So that is not a myth. But just because you're not invited doesn't mean, again, the book will do well if you manage to get the book. What is that? Is that you?
No.
Okay. The book will do well if you manage to get it to the bookstore and the book is very good and you get the buzz around it that people are saying, read the book, and you get FaceTime on the book. So yeah,
Okay. So June, July, August, September. That's too far. What
that's
can we expect? I think we got a little bit of sneak peek last time, but
no, no. I think
now we have an
there's no
tentative timeline. This
tentative
time we got a
timeline.
tentative timeline.
Honestly, to do with the Miss Aruna and authors channel as well. I think that honestly now we have to be with this lockdown. We have to be. It's like any. It's a business at the end of the day. And I
Mhm.
also have to. But yeah, I think that the book will be done soon. I think maybe I'll keep it as similar to maybe a little before Diwali. I think August. I think August September will probably be the right thing. I think it's a it. I don't know. The feel of the book is a fall book. It's not a summer read. It's definitely. I've never looked at my work. It's not summer reading. So it's and the good thing about the Hidden Children is that it continues to be bought and it continues to be read. So it's not like it doesn't have that short life cycle. And I'm hoping that it gets becomes a part of our ecosystem. That's
Mhm.
my main aim. And I think we need books like that that become part of the ecosystem in commercial fiction, not just in literary fiction. Our commercial fictions, other than Ashwini Sanghi's and Amish Pati's first trilogies, uh, do not become part of the ecosystem. Like, they're not talked about. So I want that to happen with these books, just like those two books. But many of the other books disappear after the first 3 months, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So I think people need time to read. People need time to fall in love with characters and understand the world and stuff like that. So the one thing I do recommend people is that we do a lot of interesting character reveals and everything on my website through the newsletter. So
Mhm.
please subscribe to the newsletter through my website. And with that, you can keep in touch and find out exactly what's happening with the world. Obviously, we put out the laws of Asirbda, I think, a couple of months ago. We put out a prologue a month ago. I think the pamphlet is going to come out soon, and all of that stuff. So little bit, yeah, we keep putting out there so people get a little bit of the world.
Okay. And we are really looking forward to all the adventures
Yes,
that's
yes,
going to happen
absolutely.
because, yeah, they are going on an adventure as
Yes,
far as I
yes,
remember you mentioning.
yes.
So, yeah, that would be nice. That's one thing I'm actually looking forward to
Oh,
because
thank you.
uh, them going on an adventure means we get to see more places too, right?
Yes, and in India. So
And in India, yeah.
at least this book around. Maybe next time they go somewhere else. But here,
No, let's keep them in India because we have enough books in London and
yes, lots of
New
books.
York and Los Angeles. We want more in
Yeah, more books.
Bombay and Pune. Maybe she can come visit me.
Um, so I think actually she's going to go down south.
Okay,
Yeah, she's going
no problem. Next time.
next time. Yes, next time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's essentially what's happening here.
Okay. So thank you once again for joining us. And as we have already given a sneak peek, we'll be back with Reshma on 18th of May, and we'll be discussing the nitty gritties of LitFests and how it can help you.
Perfect. All right.
Okay. And in the meantime, people don't forget to buy a copy of The Hidden Children for yourself. The link is there in the post. Yeah. I've also shared the link in the post. So go buy it so that you're ready for the second book when it launches around Diwali.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.